Hi friends, in our time together today, I'm going to introduce the tune Ode to Joy. It's actually the primary theme weaving its way through the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Woo! It's a great tune to play, and I imagine you already know it. Now, one of the things I do like to say is if you know a tune, try and find it on your whistle and see how that goes. You could even pause me, try and find Ode to Joy if it's popping up in your brain. If it's not popping up in your brain, don't worry about it. But if a tune does pop into your brain, then try and find it on your whistle. Ode to Joy is just a great, delightful tune. A few of the friends in our community asked this to be one of the tunes we learned together, and so I'm introducing it today. It is reasonably easy for us to play, and we'll talk about that more in a minute, but there are some complications with it that we'll also talk about in a minute. We'll follow our usual pattern. I'm going to stick a link at the top of the notes to this video so that you could download the music and tabs if you want to use those. We'll talk about any difficulties you might experience, ways of ornamentation and expression, and then the history of this great theme running through the fourth movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And I'll introduce the tune standing so that you can see my hands as we learn it together. Now, you can play this quite comfortably in the key of D or G, whichever you want, but I've opted for D because of something Beethoven did in that Ninth Symphony. Then the fourth movement starts off pretty strong, if you're familiar with it. He backs it down, and then he hits this theme, and he brings this theme in quite gently in a lower octave, and then he steps it up an octave, and then they step it up an octave again, and the singers come in. I'm not going into the history anymore, but so you'll see that in a few ways. So I'm actually introducing the tune with two octaves in the music, and I had to squeeze it in there. But that's so that we can get a little bit of that experience. And when I play through it, I'm going to play through it in another video. I'm going to play through it starting in the key of D and then transitioning with a step up into the key of D and then transitioning with another step up back into the key of D in the second octave. Whew. Anyway, here is Ode to Joy on a D whistle. My Howard Low D. That is Ode to Joy in two octaves. And actually the way Beethoven wrote it, you go through in the lower octave, you repeat that, you hit the transition section, you play it in an octave above, you repeat that, you go to the transition section, you play it in another octave above. Whew. He's just really building and building after the introduction to this portion of the symphony. So anyway, so that's the tune. Like I said, there aren't a lot of trouble spots in playing it, except you step into that second octave. You're going to have to be a little comfortable. What I like to say is focused on your breathing. You can't be real casual hitting the higher notes in that second octave, but you also don't want to just blast it. This is a great tune to learn to play the second octave a little more gently. Work on that, my friends. And the way it's actually written, I've taken a couple liberties so that we could play it on our whistle. Excuse me, Beethoven. And I don't have a symphony around me, or musicians singing. But the transition between the octaves goes a little faster. But I put a pause in. You can do that. Is how I played it. Is a little bit more how it was written. So obviously we're playing it on our whistle, so you can take some liberties. So the second octave might be your challenge. As far as emotion goes, sometimes we think that a classical piece of music should be played very seriously and straight. Well, watch symphonies. They don't play it seriously and straight all the time. Musicians and soloists, they pour emotion into these pieces. So you're free to do that. I'd like you to feel free with your ornamentation as well. Do what makes you feel like you're flowing through the tune. Add the ornamentation in. Add different expression in. You can even throw in some vibrato in here if you want. I want you to feel free with this. You want to feel the tune. Now, when we get to the history, that's the mood in which I want us to feel the tune. So feel free to emote this. Change the dynamics, the volume, change and work on some of your entries and exits, as well as adding ornamentation. Remember, expression is just as important as ornamentation in playing an instrument. Ode to Joy is the theme of the fourth movement. So we're jumping in the history of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And Beethoven was born in 1770, died in 1827. And this piece was, he started the composition in 1823, and it was actually the first public symphony playing of this was in 1824. And apparently they were a little rough around the edges still, because what he did was, many say, was revolutionary. Because Beethoven took the symphony and he mixed soloists and a choir in, and people just didn't do that at that time. You see, what he was trying to do is in 1785, when Beethoven was 15, Friedrich Schiller published a poem entitled Ode to Joy that Beethoven learned of and absolutely loved. And the poem celebrated hope and brotherhood. And the poem speaks about how if you don't want to be filled with hope, and if you don't want brotherhood, then we kind of don't want you hanging around, because hope drives us forward in life. And hope is the core of the world. And it's just a beautiful poem. You can look it up and find it all kinds of places. So what Beethoven's doing in the Ninth Symphony is he's celebrating Schiller's poem, and the fourth movement is the highlight of that. So much so that Beethoven was a little concerned that you wouldn't get what he's trying to do. And so he worked and thought and talked with friends, apparently from some of the historical records I've been able to find, so much so that he realized, I've got to put the text of the poem in so that people can get this. And when he did that, he had to massage the poem a little bit so it fit with the theme of the music, because actually the theme of Ode to Joy is a musical piece Beethoven has been experimenting with for a number of years, and it appears in a couple of his earlier compositions. But it fit well, apparently in his mind, and it does, with the poem, slightly modified to fit. And so you can find easily the text Beethoven used. It's very similar to Schiller's poem. So it's just beautiful. And again, this is at the time in 1824, this was revolutionary music, which, excuse me, it doesn't feel that way to us now because we all know it. So Beethoven named the fourth movement Ode to Joy. And so think through that. And I even re-listened to this movement. It's over 20 minutes long. But get a feel for the build and the emotion. You can just plug that in yourself now that you know the theme. In an upcoming video, I'm going to play through Ode to Joy, but I'm going to play it, like I said earlier, in D in the lower octave. I'm going to step it up to G, and I'm going to step back up to second octave D, because that sounds like a lot of fun. My friends, enjoy playing this beautiful piece. Yes, I know it's a classical piece, but it works really well on our whistles, and it will help us all become better musicians, because the challenge here is learn to ornament and be expressive in playing this tune. That's my encouragement and challenge, friends. Until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy Lodi whistling.